Chapter 161 Claim Marsha 4. If you touch someone whose magic was stolen, will the extortion be lifted? Marsha didn't answer, but her silence alone confirmed Sharon's theory. It was true. Still, something felt off. If physical contact cancels the magic theft, it made sense that Marsha would avoid getting close. But what didn't make sense was how far she had gone, tens of meters away. She was terrified. Why though? She had the upper hand. She had stolen vast amounts of magic using god particles. Meanwhile, Sharon was left with only a single wind cutter spell. Wasn't this an ideal situation for her? Unless there was more to it, outside the rules. Sharon's eyes widened as clarity struck him. I found it. A mental gap. Marsha isn't invincible. The realization was simple but powerful. Yes, physical contact reverses the theft, but if stealing magic were that easy and cost free, who would possibly defeat her? There had to be a hidden price. Sharon didn't know exactly what that cost was, but it had to be something severe, something close to trauma. Eaters draw power from mental scars. To wield this kind of ability, she must have suffered deeply to begin with. That's why Marsha couldn't risk proximity, because if Sharon made contact and broke the theft, she would have to pay the price again. What terrified her wasn't just losing the stolen magic, it was being forced to confront the pain that came with it. But she's done this before. How did she survive those moments? Sharon didn't have time to reflect. He charged forward. Marcia panicked, was clearly stalling for reinforcements. He had to catch her before they arrived. Ah, Marcia gasped and backed away again. Her face was pale. The playful charm she once had vanished. I can do it. I can take back my magic. Sharon chased after her. It wasn't easy. She moved like a true magician, slipping away even on foot. But he refused to stop. She had stolen a part of his soul. Sharon, watch out! Tess shouted. He looked up. 10 beams of light streaked through the sky with deafening force. Marcia's color returned, not with relief, but with triumph. Sharon collapsed, too exhausted to even stand. He had misjudged the timing. Reinforcements arrived through a magic circle. At least 20 schema users surrounded her. Ho ho ho, they're finally here. It's over. Sharon was cornered. Amy bit her lip, tears in her eyes. Was this how it would end? Would Sharon really lose his dream of becoming a wizard? No, he loved magic so much. He worked so hard. Sharon stared blankly at Marcia. It was the emptiest expression anyone had ever seen. Oh, Sharon, why that face? Is it because of your magic? Don't worry, you're still young. You can start over. Of course, the magic I stole, you'll never get that back, even in a lifetime. You stole sound magic too, didn't you? Yep, I sure did. Marcia said with a smug smile. You knew I was a kleptomaniac. Didn't you say you understood me once? So why the attitude now? Would you give me 50 silver for pottery but not your magic? Why? Too precious for someone like me? Shut up, Amy shouted. How can you talk like that? What did Sharon ever do to you? It wasn't enough that Marcia had stolen his magic. She wanted to crush his spirit too. Ho ho ho, that's life. No one's really kind. I'm sick of people pretending to care while hiding their dirty thoughts. To Sharon, her words didn't sound like a rant against the world. It sounded like she was cursing one man, her father. Marcia had been taken in as an orphan, raised until she was 17, but eventually she realized that even that kindness was born out of selfish desire. That was the root of her trauma and her power. Eaters like her aren't just powerful, they're broken. Their magic is born from pain. Other mages use omnipotence to strengthen themselves. Eaters, on the other hand, distort themselves with it. That's why eaters are terrifying. That's why the Magic Association won't even recognize them as true mages. You're pitiful, Sharon said quietly. Marcia's eyes flared. Who is he to pity me? He continued. I don't even know anymore how much you've suffered. Huh, so you do get it now. No one understands anyone's pain. Everyone's rotten inside. Maybe, but I still believe pain can be shared if someone is willing to show it. Marcia froze. He's not afraid of me anymore. If you show me your real pain, not lies, I'll face it with you. Don't say that. Don't come near me. Her trauma wasn't just a scar, it was a festering wound. and Sharon was offering to dig it up with his bare hands. In return, I promise I'll never give up on you, no matter how painful. Her subordinates moved to block him, stop him, cut his throat. Sharon looked at Rian. Rian, stay by my side. Rian, badly injured, rose without complaint. He slung his sword over his shoulder. Tess rushed over. Wait, I'm in a better shape than Rian. I'll go. Sharon shook his head. No, it has to be Rian. I can't let someone else see blood for me. Blood? Tess echoed. Sharon looked into Rian's eyes. Cut down anyone who stands in my way. Rian didn't question it. Understood. Marsha boiled with rage. He's just manipulating me, pretending to care just to get his magic back. That's what humans are, selfish to the core. Kill him now. At her command, 20 schema fighters charged. Their swords gleamed as they closed in fast. Rian readied his sword, even if it meant his death. The first enemy leaped, blade aimed at Sharon's head. And then the attacker vanished, turned into light, and shot into the sky. A slicing hum echoed through the air. Space itself had been cut. Everyone froze. What's happening? Attack! Marsha screamed. Three more charged, three more vanished in an instant. Marsha's lips quivered. Sharon kept walking, step by step. With each step, her men were thrown into the air like dust. Amy trembled. Unbelievable. I knew Sharon had talent, but this. Tess stared. Amy, what's going on? What's Sharon doing? That's slow magic. He's manipulating time itself. A theory that had never been applied, turned real by Sharon's omnipotence. Marsha never saw it coming. Tess squinted, but it looks normal. To everyone else it did, but to Rian, inside Sharon's spirit zone, time moved differently. As soon as enemies stepped inside, their movement slowed drastically. Even at Sharon's level, he had bent time itself twice as slow as the world around him. Can I strike them? Rian wondered. He swung and the terrified enemy vanished via escape magic just before the blow landed. One by one, the subordinates fled. The constant hum of teleportation filled the air. Soon, only three remained, then two, then none. Marsha stood alone. Her hands trembled. Her mind replayed every painful memory. Stay away. If I die, you'll never get your magic back. Sharon kept walking. End of chapter 161. Chapter 162. Clay Marsha 5. I don't even know anymore, Sharon said, his voice trembling. What kind of person is your sister? Why is everything a lie? What do you even gain by deceiving people like that? Marsha shut back. Why should I tell you? You're just trying to use me. If this is really about me, then just leave things as they are. Only then will I believe you. So just go. You want to know what's real? Sharon snapped. Marsha flinched at his sudden outburst. Don't just say it hurts. Tell me where and how it hurts. That's what matters, not whether I stay or go. You keep painting the world with lies. Sharon stepped closer, his voice rising. He raised his fist not to strike, but to shout. You don't even realize how much your sister is hurting. Just then, a loud voice rang out from behind. Marsha, no! Amy and Tess turned sharply. Freeman, eyes wide with panic, was charging straight at Sharon at full speed. No way, he took that blast head on. Amy whispered, in shock. Even with the blow from the flame strike, he couldn't have survived that. Not with his face burned like that. I won't let him through, Tess declared, stepping into his path. But Freeman leaped, effortlessly clearing Tess' height with sheer force. Mid-air, he pulled out his gun and aimed at Sharon. Rian turned quickly and swung his sword. His body ached, but missing Freeman now would make everything for nothing. Raw! Freeman wasn't immune to slow magic. Rian's sword would strike true, but Freeman didn't flinch. He pushed through. He had to protect Marsha, to keep her away from Sharon, no matter the cost. But just as Rian's blade and Freeman's charge were about to collide, everything froze. Both stopped, eyes wide with shock. Rian's sword never struck. Freeman never reached Sharon. Sharon had released slow. The magic, even when turned off, couldn't affect time equally. A unique benefit of time magic. In that same moment, Sharon's fist came down in a wide arc. Marsha could only watch helplessly, seeing the first of a boy who came to shatter everything she'd built. Sharon's punch connected with her face. Marsha's head turned sharply, and she collapsed as if in shock. Marsha, Freeman's face turned ghostly pale. Marsha just stared at the ground, stunned, as if life had already left her. Sharon felt the magic dissolve. There was no trace of it left in Marsha's mind. Marsha, Freeman said softly, stepping toward her. Behind him, their allies returned from the teleportation circle, but none dared to come closer. Marsha had fallen. They all knew what that meant. Are you okay? Freeman asked gently. Marsha twitched, then forced a smile. Yeah, I'm okay. But her eyes were blank. Her emotions had all but evaporated. It was as if her soul had left her body. Amy wasn't moved. Marsha had endangered Sharon's life. She deserved what she got. She brought this on herself. It can't end like this. If she really has the power to steal magic, there has to be a price, right? Marsha didn't deny it. That's how equivalent exchange worked. If she hadn't accepted the cost, the magic wouldn't have activated to begin with. Yes, she said. To cancel the theft, someone has to touch my body. Only then will the magic return. And the cost of that, I'll be the one to tell him. She turned to where Sharon stood and sat down, her face pale. You can hug me. Tess looked completely caught off guard. What did you say? To offer something like that in return, what kind of woman would be so reckless? But Sharon knew that kind of magic couldn't be taken lightly. Extortion magic always demanded a price as heavy as death. That night, when she cast the spell that nearly killed her foster father, Sharon knew those were memories she wished she could forget. Rian, beginning to understand, frowned. What the hell is all this? Sharon would never do something like that. What if he refuses? Freeman answered, then Marsha dies. It's part of her own rules. If he refuses, she's as good as dead. The mention of death sent Tess into a panic. That's insane. That can't be the rule. Amy, say something. Doesn't this sound wrong? Don't ask me, Amy said, her voice tense. It's Sharon's decision. Amy was troubled too. Sharon wouldn't hurt someone like that. Not on purpose, but who knew what kind of burden he felt, having her life in his hands. Sharon spoke up. You're right. Living is better than dying. I'll take responsibility. He stepped toward Marsha. Amy's heart pounded. Freeman tried to stop him but hesitated. His love was sincere but powerless. Please, he said, save Marsha. Marsha closed her eyes and braced herself. It felt like being wheeled into surgery. Terrifying, but maybe this was what she needed. All the trauma, she wanted to cut it out, but maybe she just needed someone to iron it flat. I'm sorry, Freeman, she whispered. Freeman bowed his head and stepped back. Sharon sat beside her. Trauma ties us to the past, weighing down both present and future. Maybe Marsha hadn't truly lived since that day. Can we go somewhere private? Sharon asked. No, here is fine, she replied, opening her eyes to read his expression. But he was unreadable. What is he thinking? Does he want to kill me while pretending to care? But hadn't she done worse? She stole magic, made countless suffer. Maybe Sharon had already seen the end. Maybe this was just his way of coping. Sharon gently supported her back and pulled her upper body toward him. She let him. Whatever price was required, she was ready. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her close. I hugged you, he whispered. Marsha blinked, then frowned in confusion. What is this? A child's game? What are you doing? She snapped. I hugged you, like you asked. Don't joke. Don't joke. Do you really think this ends it? Are you mocking me? I told you, I won't give up. Let go. I don't want your pity. You're just trying to look noble. Just hold me, get mad, take your revenge. Under her own rules, Marsha couldn't hurt Sharon, but she still struggled. You fake, you pretender. You're a good person, Sharon said softly, stroking her hair. You're not like Arcane. People follow you for a reason, even if it's all built on lies. That's fine. No one really knows what others think anyway. So believe in yourself. If you can love, someone out there will love you back. No, you don't understand anything, Marsha screamed. What do you even know? But as tears ran down her cheeks, She stopped, stunned. She wasn't sad, so why was she crying? Huh, why? Why am I crying? Her walls had been up for so long. The tears came before the feelings even surfaced. But it was too late to stop them. The memories she had sealed away broke free. She was 17 again, lying on the floor, staring at the ceiling. Her foster father approached, reeking of alcohol. Same violence, same fear. Marsha's hand reached behind her back, clutching the hidden dagger. The cold metal bit into her skin. "You can hug me," she had said back then. Her foster father's eyes widened. Marcia still remembered the twisted look in them. She grabbed the dagger. He was coming. She had no choice but to stab. But this time, the man in her memory changed. He kneeled, buried his face in her chest, and gently patted her back. "I'm sorry, Marcia. You are my daughter." The words she had wanted to hear most in the world. And just like that, the door to her heart opened. 10 years of suppressed emotion exploded. Hook. Ah, Marcia wept in Sharon's arms. "Daddy, Dad." Sharon said nothing. He just held her. "Why did you do that?" "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." She had wanted this, a father's embrace. No matter how violent he was, she wanted to believe he cared. "It's okay, sis. You're safe now." Her past shattered, then slowly reassembled into something more bearable. A new hope flickered. Dad, Freeman checked the time. Her magic should have triggered the cost by now. But Marcia was still alive. What happened? Tess asked nervously. No one could answer. Only Marcia and Sharon knew what had passed between them. Freeman stepped forward. "The extortion spell is gone." Sharon cancelled it. Amy stared. "Just like that, a hug ended it. What about the price?" Freeman hesitated. Amy wouldn't understand. Not yet. Sharon hadn't just cancelled the magic. He'd reached into Marcia's heart and rewrote the very condition that bound her. Sharon didn't cancel the robbery. He changed the condition, and with it he erased her power. Freeman smiled bitterly. Maybe Sharon had never cared about the price. He just chose to carry it all. We lost completely. Ah, Marcia kept sobbing, knowing deep down, if the door didn't open today, it might never open again. 10 years of buried memories were being released into the abyss. End of chapter 162. Chapter 163, Late Lunch 1. Whoa, whoa. Amy, who had been watching him for a long time, shouted as if she couldn't stand it any longer. "Hey, can't you just step aside? The red and white chapters are also oily, so others will think that we are the gangsters and that you are the victims." Marcia, who turned her gaze to Amy, pouted her lips as if setting her on fire, digging deeper into Sharon's chest. Amy heard her patient snap. "Because I really want to see you, this woman." Freeman interrupted Marcia and asked, "Leave it alone. You must be tired from crying." Amy looked at Freeman in bewilderment and pointed at him. "Aren't you mistaken about something too? Do you know how much we have suffered because of you? It's a shame that we won. Sharon's life was almost over." That was what really upset Amy. Is it enough if the results are good? If Sharon hadn't overcome today's crisis, what would have happened after that would have been horrifying to imagine. It felt like Sharon's heart was deprived of magic, but Amy, who had to watch it, came back alive from hell. "Sorry, all of the crimes I committed while working as a gang of parrot thieves were my orders." Marcia only faced off against the association's pursuers, but if he says even that is a sin. Amy asked, crossing her arms. "If I will take responsibility for her life." Marcia, who was being embraced by Sharon, jumped up. She stormed over and kicked Freeman in the ass. "You are laughing. Does anyone have anything to stop the confusion? I don't need someone like you." Although he was a staggered Freeman, he still stood there like an old tree. Marcia's angst was from an early age. "Sister Marcia." Hearing Sharon's voice, Marcia's shoulders trembled. She didn't have the courage to look behind her. The reason she took her anger out on Freeman was because she was afraid of the situation. Eventually, she couldn't turn her body around and spoke her words out. "Excuse me, I'm sorry about this. Of course it won't be forgiven." That's right, my sister can't forgive me. Marcia turned around with a surprised expression. Sharon's eyes were cold. The image of her caressing her wounds just before had disappeared without a trace. You kidnapped and used the girl for whatever reason. It's something you should never do. Marcia couldn't resist and lowered her head. She has never bullied the weak in her life. She did, but she didn't want to make excuses. It was because she was the one who suffered the most when she kidnapped Yuna. Yes, I guess. Come to think of it, he was the villain of the world. That's right, my older sister is the world's villain, Sharon said without hesitation. Come to think of it, that was his personality. The reason why there is no turmoil when dealing with someone sincerely is because his disposition itself is good, not because he likes to mislead the truth or like perjury. I will go. I hope my sister gets through it well, and I hope I never see you again. Sharon turned around and walked away without regret. Sympathizing with and understanding Marcia was all he could do. Wrong. At that moment, Marcia mustered up the courage to shout. Sharon did not make any judgment about this matter. It was the same as stealing pottery from the market, so she had no choice but to approach him first. What if I live like that? I'm just starting. At least give us a promise to meet again. Sharon, who had been standing there for a long time, turned around because her eyes were still fierce. Marcia was nervous like a prisoner, waiting for her sentence. If you really think I did something wrong, I apologize to Yuna. I also wish her wrongdoing, saying sorry to Jess, her brother. We have to compensate for all the damage her brother and sister suffered. Of course, actually, I hate this too. I won't make excuses, but I will ask for forgiveness from the two of you separately. Even so, that doesn't make the wrongdoing go away. I will never forgive my sister for what she did. Marcia's shoulders drooped. Tears welled up in her crotch and seemed to fall down her crotch at any moment. But if you really choose to live a new life, you can forget the past. Marcia hurriedly raised her head. She cried like a child and she was hugged by Sharon. Oh, it's my fault. Sharon could not soothe the crying Marcia in her arms. In fact, it was the first choice I made in my life. Some people have a harder life than others. Not everyone in the world can fight with their convictions. So Sharon decided to try to forgive her. If she was the point where her change began, he thought he would at least have the responsibility to watch it. Clay Marcia. Is that why Sharon suddenly realized? The fact that Marcia, who seemed strong and frightening, was actually a woman small enough to hold in her arms. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Marcia took Sharon and the others to the building, as it was the place where the two wizards had a confrontation. Not a single piece of equipment remained intact. The friends could guess how much Sharon had struggled to the death. Let's go to the second floor. I fought and I was hungry. I'll get you some food. The workmanship is not good. At least the second floor was in good condition. A few flower pots were broken on the floor. Sharon and the others waited for the food to be served. Yuna was also sitting in the seat. Her complexion improved, unlike the first time, as if her tension had been relieved. I left at dawn and didn't eat a single meal until the sun went down. She wasn't hungry enough to wait for food, so Marcia served her soup and bread that she could eat right away. As soon as the food came out, I filled my stomach without hesitation. Rian's injuries weren't enough to eat, but she seemed to have eaten the most of the group. Can't we eat out now? The part that impressed Sharon the most is in this battle was, of course, eating out of the rules. It might not be as much as Unlocker, but it was clear that it was a rare trait in the wizarding world. No, it's not like that. Of course, deprivations is impossible, but in fact, wounds engraved in the heart are not so easily healed. It will be transformed in some way. Okay, When Sharon blurted out his words, Marcia, who was quick-witted, said with a bright smile, "Don't worry, I won't make such evil magic anymore. The rules can be changed to some extent." Sharon nodded with a surprised expression. This was also practical information that could not be learned at school. "Then, do you have any rules in mind?" "I don't have anything yet. Let's see. Shall we go to a magic school and develop magic to bewitch handsome men with blonde hair?" Sharon smiled anxiously. He suffered from the eccentricity of a regular eater, and he could not pass it off as a joke. Receiving Amy's stinging glare, Marcia shook her hand and reassured her. Whoops, don't worry, it's not Sharon. Who is it so? Then who are you? There is. He goes to magic school, has blonde hair, and is a handsome guy. Amy stopped talking. It was futile for her to have an argument with a regular outsider who looked at the world the way she thought. Freeman put down his spoon and spoke earnestly. How about a magic trick to flirt with a man without eyebrows? Pooh! Marcia put the soup in her mouth back into her plate and threw it away. I didn't expect her to say such shameless words in a place like this. What nonsense are you talking about? How are you really? What's the matter? Didn't say a word about me. Is there anyone else in the world without eyebrows besides you and the monkey? A monkey is not a human. No, I mean you're a monkey. Look at that. Did you lose? Like a pathetic coward. How many times have I told you not to ride the reverse technique tree? Yes, yes. Marcia stabbed Freeman in the temple with a fork. As Amy watched the scene, something suddenly came to mind. Certainly it was strange that Freeman remained intact, even after being hit directly by his own flame strike. Reverse technique tree. Those who train schema build up by overlapping several schemas. The most basic build was placed on the bottom, and the build selected as an option went on top. Reversing it in an instant was the reverse build. Schema users call it this reversal, and it could be said that it was a defensive build that was chosen only when life was in danger. Gunners whose vitality is mobility and accuracy are usually based on sensory or neural strengthening. Therefore, regenerative builds related to defensive abilities or soul activation builds have no choice but to be placed relatively in the options. Freeman was also a gunner, so it wouldn't be that different. But if you listen to Marsha, he fought with a defensive build from the beginning, that is, a reversal build. If so, it makes sense that even though his face was burned by the flame strike, he was fine. But the speed at the end, when he saved Marsha, was amazing. Perhaps that was the movement as an unreserved gunner. As soon as I thought that, my anger rose. Freeman said, conscious of Amy's feelings. If it wasn't for the reversal, the opponent would have come up with a different strategy. There is no strong or weak. I just do it according to the situation, and courage is part of my ability. Amy was stronger than me, that's all. Marcia put her chin on her chin and burst out laughing. Let's sell cowardly eyebrows. Let's sell cowardly eyebrows. Freeman now knows how to say something quite manly. After being praised by the enemy, Amy felt embarrassed for nothing. No, what? The uncle was also great. Thank you, but I'm not a man. I am the same age as Marsha. So what? Hey, even if you're the same age, you're still a man to me, right? Freeman hung his head suddenly and went back to breaking the bread. The question of why Sharon called Marsha sister rose to her throat, but being a timid person, she couldn't bring it out. After the flirtatious atmosphere passed, Marcia corrected her expression again and said seriously, Anyway, Sharon, if you aim to become a mage too, you better be wary of eating out. Actually, it's funny that I even say that. No, I want to know. Please tell me more. Actually, the deprivation I used isn't very effective magic. Although stealing the opponent's magic is itself an overpower, it's just a challenge to the possibilities, and it's not an effective way to fight. Even if Sharon thought it seemed that he would not choose deprivation if he would gain some ability at the cost of risking his life. It's because there are too many restrictions on itself to extort the ability of others. I am a little unusual. Of course, most of the regular eaters are unusual, but it wasn't magic that was created with combat in mind from the beginning. Other eat-out eaters will use the eat-out diet, which is much more effective and more applicable than I am. Okay, I have to say it now, but it was really creepy when I fought with my sister. I didn't know there was a way to block the immortal function. Sorry about that, but you're right. Nothing is impossible in the world of magic. There are no absolutes. You were able to defeat me because you saw through my weaknesses, right? Yes, if the initiation of eating out itself was due to trauma, I thought that if we persistently attacked that trauma, variables could arise. That's right. In other words, it's a logic battle between constraints and costs. When dealing with regular eaters, it's more important to quickly grasp the magic equipment they use than fighting power. Of course, if it's you, I think you'll do well enough. No, I learned a lot this time. Sharon replied sincerely. It was a battle that realized that the world is wide and there are many outstanding people. End of chapter 163. Chapter 164. Late Lunch 2. Ah, I never thought a day like this would come. Marsha exhaled, almost in disbelief. Maybe I can finally live a different kind of life now. The wounds of her past hadn't healed, but at least the hardened shell around them had cracked. What remained was to forge a new path, even while carrying the pain. Freeman spoke up, his voice gentle. What's next for you? I hear someone's on your tail. We're leaving, Marcia replied. I started out as a mercenary, so I'll leave as one. The others will want the same. Of course, in this country, we were lumped together with thieves. Her eyes dimmed with sorrow. Mercenaries were born to fight and die. Marcia had long accepted that, even learning to smirk at the deaths of comrades. She never fought she never fought for for noble causes or shallow justice, but she had always stood firm, never backing down from a challenge. She wanted at the very least to honor her comrades as warriors. Let them not be remembered as bandits, buried in dishonor. Sensing her turmoil, Tess offered a soft reassurance. Really, there's only a thin line between mercenaries and thieves, just like there's a line between mercenaries and knights. Knights die for their ideals. The ones who lose are branded as villains. But things change. Maybe one day the world will see it differently. Rian nodded in agreement. I'm not sure about Nena or Amy, but if one of them wants to be a knight, they better be prepared. There was a time when my family was pressured too, he added. They told us to stay neutral. Come to think of it, Tess, your father must have had it rough too. Yes, well, Tess sighed. He's a hero here, but over in the colonies, he's seen as an invader. That's politics for you. Marcia smiled. She could tell they were trying to ease her pain, and she appreciated it. She still had her doubts about the world, but for now she believed in these people. They're warm-hearted kids, friends of Sharon. Marcia rested her chin on the table like a lazy cat, savoring the rare peace. Then, with a playful grin, she raised her sword and pointed it at Sharon. So what now? You planning to go on some epic journey? We're headed to the Kurugu Mountain, Kurugu ruins. He replied, Kergo, what will a group of young adventurers be doing there? Well, actually, Sharon explained their reason for coming to the island. Marshall listened intently, then blinked in surprise. Oh, so that's the secret of the ruins. I didn't know much. I was away for a while. Freeman, did you know? Somewhat, Freeman said, heard bits and pieces from the locals. So you want to enter the Kergo Autonomous District? Yes, but the Room of Achievement and Sacrifice is extremely difficult. I'm not even sure if we can pass it. What happens if you can't? She asked. I have another idea in mind, but I'm not sure it will work. Freeman, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke up. In that case, we can help. Huh? You mean with the Room of Achievement and Sacrifice? No, you don't have to go through that room to enter the Autonomous District. Falcoa once made a deal with them. Traded loops, I believe. If you show a pass from the Freeman organization, they'll let you in. The group stared at him, stunned. No one had told them that an alternate route existed. Amy raised an eyebrow. Wait, if there are two routes, why even bother creating the gateway and test? Freeman shrugged. I don't know, but both paths lead to the same place. That much has been confirmed by those who passed the test. Sharon was puzzled too. He had assumed that the test led to a completely different area. If it's the same destination, why have a test at all? Maybe tradition, Tess offered. Old cultures like to cling to their customs or maybe to avoid suspicion. How does that help? It makes the autonomous district seem unimportant. After all, even we didn't expect much from the Room of Achievement and Sacrifice after hearing the rumors. Freeman concluded. Either way, you should check it out yourselves. If you want, I can have a pass made right now. Yes, please, Sharon said. He hadn't decided which route to take, but the more options they had, the better. Freeman called in his subordinates to issue the pass, then turned back to the group. You'll also need someone who speaks the native language. None of my people do. What? Then how did Falcoa manage? He built his own network after arriving on the island, didn't rely on existing mercenaries, and among the traffickers he worked with, there was like a translator. Then we'll need one too. Yuna quietly raised her hand. I think my brother can help. Huh? It's okay, say it, Amy encouraged. Jess knows a little Kergore. He used to work various jobs when we were younger. One of them was in tourism. I think that's when he picked it up. Freeman nodded. Perfect, ask him. With help, but with Marsha back, it's risky for us to stay here. The Magic Association is still after us. Sharon agreed. He didn't want Marsha to be put in further danger. As the sun began to set, the group prepared to leave. Marsha gave each of them a teleportation bracelet. It was simple to use. Each bracelet had its own spirit zone. All you had to do was recall the coordinates, like casting a spell. Sharon looked at the bracelet thoughtfully. People used it casually, but the idea of linking a magical weapon to a teleportation circle was astounding. It required bridging two spirit zones from entirely separate spaces. From the outside, you'd see both the entrance of and the exit. But from inside, only one portal would be visible. It was like gazing into spatial paradox. The labyrinth of time and space. Maybe this world is already tangled in secrets far beyond us. At first, Chiron thought it was all coincidence until he discovered his connection to Alphaeus. Then came the Cargo ruins, and now the spread of time space magic woven into weapons across the world. A shiver ran down his spine. Maybe, as the headmaster warned, he was about to uncover something he shouldn't. As he pondered this, Marcia came up for one last word. There's a courage waiting at the foot of the mountain. We might see each other again before you go, but be careful, just in case. And when you get back, find a healer. Get that wound treated. I will, thank you. She laughed. What's with the formality between us? She playfully smacked his arm. Though she no longer needed to hide, she still carried her old charm. Perhaps that was her way of surviving, with a shield made of lies. I'll go now. If we don't meet again, here, contact the magic school. Don't worry, she said with a grin. Clay Marsha can find you anytime, anywhere. She rolled up her sleeves with confidence. Freeman stood beside her, a constant companion, perhaps not quite a friend, more like a watchful guardian. It suited her. As Sharon disappeared into the forest, Marsha whispered, The Cargo ruins, will they be all right? Probably not, Freeman said. She frowned, glancing at him, but he finished calmly. But they'll make it. They're strong kids. Marcia looked up at the sky with a wistful smile. A soft hum of magic echoed through the trees as they teleported away. Next scene, it was already evening when Sharon and the group returned by carriage to the villa. Jess, still recovering, was pacing in the living room. When the door opened, he turned and froze. Yuna. Tears welled up in his eyes. His little sister, the one he fought as so hard to protect, had come back unharmed. Brother! Yuna, the two ran into each other's arms, sobbing. It had been a brutal ordeal, one that even Sharon, strong, has ex- even Sharon, strong as he was, had nearly buckled under. And yet the siblings had survived it alone. The hardship they'd endured was unimaginable. Are you okay? Were you hurt? I'm fine, Yuna. Everyone helped me. Jess, covered in bandages, smiled. Then I'm fine too. Now that you're home, nothing else matters. Even standing was painful, but he never showed it. He didn't want Yuna to feel even a sliver of the fear he had felt. Turning to Sharon and the others, Jess bowed deeply, his gratitude pouring out. Thank you so much. I'll never forget what you've done for us. Tess gave his shoulder a friendly pat. No need to be so formal. Just remember what I said earlier. If you're truly grateful, show it through your actions. Huh? What do you mean? Jess blinked in confusion. The others just smiled, speechless. Next scene. Later that evening, Jess returned to the table after talking Yuna into bed. He took a sip of herbal tea, then picked up where they'd left off. So, you plan to enter the autonomous district through the Kergor ruins? That's why you need a translator? Yeah, Yuna said you might know the language. I can manage daily conversation enough to guide you, but Jess paused, looking thoughtful. What's wrong? Sharon asked. Is something bothering you? No, it's fine. I'll help. He nodded, but added cautiously, just be careful. That place isn't just mysterious. It's under strict control by the Gallian government. I hope you're ready. End of chapter 164. Chapter 165 Dangerous Deal 1. Huh? The government is blocking access, but the Galliant government and the Aboriginal Autonomous District are separate authorities. If we say we're entering no matter what, isn't that inevitable? Yeah, technically. It's more of a symbolic restriction, but still, if they're putting up blocks like that, there has to be a reason. Sorry, maybe I'm just overthinking it. No, it's fine. We didn't even know, but I still plan to go. If you're willing to guide us, Jeez. Of course, who else but Jeez would guide you? Jeez thumped his chest proudly, then winced in pain. He took a moment to recover before continuing. Well, that said, I'm not sure I'll be walking around much in my condition. Don't worry, tomorrow I'm visiting the recovery wizard, Mr. Freeman recommended. Most physical trauma can be treated there. Whoa, a recovery wizard? That sounds expensive. Jess' eyes widened. Amy smirked and teased him. It will be cheaper than the guide fee you tried to charge us. Jess scratched his head sheepishly. He knew he'd tried to overcharge. Haha, let's forget that ever happened. Sharon sank into the sofa. Anyway, let's just rest for today. Sleep will restore your mental energy, but Rian and Tess should get recovery magic. Huh? I'm fine, Tess said. My wound's already healed. Everyone turned to her. Sure enough, the scars on her face and arms were gone. Whoa, how did you do that? Is it similar to what Mr. Freeman did? Yeah, I used the second schema, mitochondria. Mitochondria? It's a part of cells that produces energy. If you build your schema on mitochondria, it boosts your physical capabilities, speed, regeneration, and endurance. That's why a lot of swordsmen, especially those without much talent, use it as their base. It's common in soldiers and mercenaries. I see, but how do you decide what goes in the second schema versus the base one? Sharon was eager to learn more after his encounter with the Parrot mercenaries. He realized how different schema-based combat was from magic. Think of schema like a skill tree, Tess explained. People often described it as forming a virtual body, but it's more nuanced. As for real body awakens at a cellular level, your perception sharpens. The challenge is layering multiple builds without unbalancing the body. Amy and Rian stayed quiet. This was Tess' domain. If you try to enhance, say, just the nervous system, your muscles might not keep up and tear. Conversely, boosting only muscles strength could break your bones. It's all about balance. That's what I never understood, Sharon said. I knew it enhanced the body, but not how you kept things in sync. It's similar to magic. You have your own mental systems, right? Like the four ways and sequence formulas. Yeah, swordsmen have something similar. A build is like overlaying multiple virtual schematics. Start with a base like mitochondria, then layer muscle enhancement, then vision techniques, and so on. With a solid base, the risk of imbalance drops dramatically. Ah, that makes sense. The base schema has 100% efficiency. The second layer is 50%, the third is 25%, and so on. You can change the order, but unless you're an expert, it's hard to use non-standard builds. There is one exception, a technique called reversal. Isn't that what Amy said Mr. Freeman does? How does it work? Like a special pattern? No, schemas don't work like that. Think of it like stacking transparent sheets. Normally, you look from the top down layers 1, 2, 3. But with reversal, you shift your perception to see from the bottom up 3, 2, 1. She reached for a piece of paper to demonstrate. There are other techniques too: exit, transmission, folding, crossing. Managing all these layers is what we call a build. Sharon was impressed. He used to think swordsmen just trained their bodies, but this was on par with wizardry. So your mitochondria schema is in the second layer, meaning it only runs at 50% efficiency. Exactly. It's popular, but not ideal for full body efficiency. Only people who really rely purely on brute strength keep it at the base. I focus on the nervous system because swordplay is about precision. Now it made sense to Chiron. With the same sword and equal schemas, someone with a nervous system build would outperform someone using mitochondria. Then those mercenaries in the sacrifice room weren't using mitochondrial builds either. The warrior was probably muscle focused, the archer sensory based. Huh? Aren't nervous and sensory systems the same? Similar, but different targets. Nervous system builds improve internal control, fine movement coordination. Sensory builds enhance external input, sight, smell, touch. Archers usually pick sensory for heightened perception. I use it as my third build too. Ah, that's why you said tracking an archer is tough. Exactly. The key is finding the build that fits you and practicing each schema diligently. Even a basic mitochondria build underperforms if not mastered. I think I get it now, Sharon said. Why is it called a human body schema? It's like a self image. Ever heard of phantom limb pain? Even if your arm is gone, you still feel it when something passes through that space. That's schema. It's the body your mind believes in. Amy, like Sharon, was learning a lot. At first, she had let Tess explain because it sounded simpler, but this went deeper than expected. Tess, how many schemas did my dad layer? He had tons of skills. Doesn't efficiency get too low after the fourth schema? It does, but there's a workaround. A way to give the second schema 100% efficiency. Sharon leaned forward. Really? How? It's called acquisition. Schema, as I said, reflects the shadow of your physical self. Opening a schema is like clearing away the black areas, fully understanding your own body, but few people ever do. That sounds really hard. It is. It takes intense training and rare talent, but once someone fully merges a schema with their body, it becomes invincible, like it's not even there, and that opens up efficiency for later schemas. A master of 5 schemas can get 100% efficiency on the sixth. Wow, Sharon exhaled in awe. He had always dreamed of being a wizard, but fighting Rian had opened his eyes to the sword's depth. Sorcery and swordsmanship, spirit zone and schema, truly the two forces that divided the world. You're incredible, Tess. Tess blushed. It's nothing. I've just studied this since I was young. I wanted to be helpful to you, the magic poet, so I got a little carried away. No, it really helped. I feel like I could handle a situation like today way better. So that means only Jis and Rian need healing tomorrow. Chiron said it casually, but Tess suddenly froze. Come to think of it, Rian hadn't said a word throughout the whole discussion. She glanced back. He looked calm, but his eyes were fixed on his own body. It was badly battered. He had defeated Falcoa with an imagination schema. He had defeated Falcoa with an imagination schema, but he had never truly mastered schema, and now his condition was only worsening. Damn, why am I? Tess looked at Rian, heart aching. He must have felt humiliated, losing his self respect. She could sense it. Realizing everyone was looking at him, Rian quickly straightened up and smiled. Haha, I'm fine. No healing needed. I'm strong. He pounded his chest with force, but his face didn't flinch at all. Still, everyone knew he was holding back the pain through sheer will. No one urged him to get treatment. They respected his pride too much for that, except Chiron. To him, Rian wasn't just a comrade. He was a true guardian knight. If Rian was that committed, then Sharon believed he deserved the same level of seriousness. End of chapter 165.